Welcome to the A.R. Bernard Show. I'm your host, A.R. Bernard. It's a show where we dive into the intersection of faith and culture. And I'm truly excited about today's guest. Of course, I say that every show because I've got great guests, but this guest is a little extra special for me. He's a 6-time Grammy award-winning gospel singer, songwriter, and an actor. He's also a member of the renowned Winans family and one half of the dynamic sibling duo, BeBe and CeCe. Please welcome the great BeBe Winans.
Hello, sir.
I took time practicing that introduction. I want you to know that, okay? Just want you to know, I took time to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for that intro.
10 children, and you're the seventh.
I'm the seventh boy.
And the youngest boy out of the whole.
Yeah. Well, they had 7 boys straight, my mom and dad, which continues to make my knees weak. But you know about that. And then 3 girls came.
But we stopped at number 7.
I know. Y'all stopped at 7.
Your parents kept going.
Kept going. I don't know if they really just wanted. I asked my mom before I interviewed her because you know your parents as just mom and dad, and they really don't talk about what their dreams were. So I asked my mother, I said, Mom, when you were in school with your girlfriends, I mean, you wanted to get married, how many kids you wanted to have? She said 2. And I looked at her and said, Mama, what happened? And I'll leave off the rest of she said. She said
2.
to me, 2.
2 became 10.
2 became 10.
Well, we just wanted 2.
That's all?
A boy.
Really?
And a girl.
But you
So we had the boy.
Boy. And boy.
And another boy. We were going for the girl.
Oh, boy,
and then another
boy.
boy. And when we got up to the last, I said, okay, this is it. But my wife would have kept going.
Okay.
She would have kept going. She came from a family of 8. And she wanted a large family because she came from a large family. She loves children. And that was her passion, really, to have a family, be a good wife. In fact, she left working for an insurance company, a very well-known insurance company at the time, to stay home and take care of our children.
Wow.
That was the decision that she made. So she left her career to go into another career. That was really her passion.
Well, see, my mama had 10, but she worked 2 jobs.
Oh, no.
At the same time.
Well, no, she had 10. She worked more than 2 jobs, okay?
And then came home and cooked and cleaned and all of that. So I tried to, every wish is my command. But yeah, I had 2, and that was it. I had the girl first, and then the boy, and that was, I'm done.
Yeah.
But my father was an only child. My mother only had 1 sister.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And to develop this kind of a family, because the Winans is a special family. God's hand is on all of you. I mean, everybody is talented, including mom and
dad. Oh, yeah. Dad and mom could sing the house off the roof, off the church and off the house. And so sacrificed their dreams as singers when they recognize the talent that was, that the children had. And so they nurtured us.
And you grew up in church.
Yes.
All right. Tell me what church was like when you were the little boy, BeBe.
Well, if my mom and dad wanted to punish us, they would say, "You're not going to the revival."
Wait. Not
do
going
you
to
hear
church
what I'm saying?
Was punishment?
And so we loved everything about church. The preaching, the teaching, the singing, the shut-ins. Oh, it was our life and our enjoyment and our breath. So if we didn't make up the bed, you weren't going to revival. And that bed would get made up so quick.
Now that's interesting because you have kids who would wish they could be punished by not going to church.
That would be my
They want to stay home.
My son said one day, Dad, can we just stay home? I said, son, we got to go. He said, can we go to the park? Jesus made the park too. I said, okay, see, that's a different child. But no, we loved everything about it. So when we came home, Dad recognized the love of singing because we sang in the choir. We were the choir, and bought a piano, sacrificed and bought a piano, and we just would get on there. Never took lessons, but self-taught, and it was our joy. So even in school, there was no peer pressure when it came to any of my family members. Kids would invite us to parties, and we'd say, a party? We're having a revival. Come with me to the revival.
The real party.
Oh, the real party. And so it has been that way all our lives.
How was it growing up with older brothers?
Oh, it's like having 6 other fathers.
Okay.
But you learn how to survive. I think from that, I have a love of people. I really do. And but my father used to tell us, one Winans win, all Winans win.
Yeah.
One Winan loses, all Winans loses. And so, I was a baby boy, as you said, and then CeCe was the first girl, 2 years apart. And so CeCe used to follow me everywhere. In school, she would want to hang in my locker. And if we had classes together, she wanted to be next to me. It was just like, can you let me breathe? So they called us Donnie and Marie. That's what my brothers called us, Donnie and Marie. But we were a very close-knitted family.
Yeah.
We had fun with each other, both at home and when we were out.
Well, as the youngest of the whole group, I'm sure she would gravitate to the youngest boy. And I even heard, correct me if I'm wrong, that she got skipped a grade.
Yes, because she didn't want
to hang out with you, just to be
She
with
didn't
you.
want to be in school without me.
Oh, man.
She was the oldest girl, and then Angie, and then Debbie. Debbie's the baby of the family. And so there's a kind of relationship there between me and her, because at the same time, I'm 9 years older, so I had to get her dressed for school and comb her hair and different other things like that. But CeCe wanted to, so I remember, you can ask her this because I know she'll be on your show. She'll look at you and say, where'd you get that information? She'll know exactly where you got the information from. We took a summer class, CeCe and I, and the teacher we had was very, I want to say lazy, but real nice. Didn't care if we did a lot. And so we were told in the beginning that you're not going to fail this class. So the kids was just like relaxing, And then faster, about 3 weeks before the summer semester was over, they changed teachers. And the teacher came in, the new teacher, and said, I looked at all y'all scores and all y'all failing. We said, the blood of Jesus. No. No. And so we panicked. We got it done. But boy, you can ask her, what happened this summer?
I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to bring that up. But close-knit family.
Yes.
Singing together. Also experiencing life together.
Yes.
In many, many different ways. Talk about what it was like relating to the world around you, because it sounded like it was quite insulated.
Yes. Well, my father didn't allow any other music than gospel in the household. So we were raised on quartet, and then when Andre Crouch came out, it was like, oh man, that was and we were nervous he wouldn't let that in, but he did. Mama kind of pushed him. So the Hawkins and Andre Crouch and the Disciples were the only music, Shirley Caesar, and only music in our household. But we loved it. So being raised in Detroit, Michigan, surrounded by Motown, where we lived on Whittingham and 7 Mile Road, when it snowed, all the kids would run to a block over Santa Monica, because a block over was Smokey Robinson's house. And we used to rush to shovel his snow because he'll give you $25. And then 2 blocks the other way, Stevie Wonder. 3 blocks the other way was some of the Four Tops. So we knew, the epic performers of Motown. And, we heard the music outside of the house. So there were times that my brother Ronald would take a song, a secular song, and bring it back and change the words. And my father and we would always think he wrote that.
Well, wait a minute.
It was just...
Wasn't he your cut buddy?
Huh?
Who was your cut buddy?
My cut buddy?
Yeah, out of your brothers.
Oh, it was Ronald.
It was Ronald.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all were tight.
That was my hero. So I would believe anything that he came. But Marvin would challenge, because Marvin was the writer. So Marvin would challenge Ronald, like, you wrote that?
Only to find out it was on the local radio station.
It was a Motown song.
But it influenced your music.
It did.
Because your music, whether Winans or BeBe and CeCe, had R&B flavor to it.
Yes. Loved everything about Detroit. And even people that you didn't know, that didn't make it to the tippy top of the recording industry. Detroit had a lot of talented people. And one of the things my father would allow us to go to, because he wouldn't allow us to go anywhere, spend the night anywhere. But later on, there was a midnight musical that Mattie Moss Clark had at church on Saturday nights. And my father, with the help of my mother, my mother was the saving grace of my family. And so they would let us go there. And there was the Clark sisters. Different, they weren't commissioned in, but Fred Hammond and Vanessa Bell Armstrong, all these people, Aretha sometimes would show up and sing gospel music. And so, a lot of people wanted to be on that program. But as I sat in the audience, I was thinking, Lord, I want my music I want to go to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to London. I want my music to pass this and go other places. So I dreamed that God would do more with my writing and my music than what I saw within the 4 walls of the church.
How did your church community respond to that?
Oh, I got slayed.
Because I got saved 75. So that was right around the time Andre Crouch. And he was creating stuff that, the church had a fit. Because I think about Kirk Franklin, you think the gospel music gone too far. They put a lot of heat. And I didn't come from this world, so I didn't see anything wrong with it. But they were beating up on him big time.
Real hard. But one of the things that, again, my mother was my saving grace. So anything that I wrote before you all heard it, before the public heard it, my mom heard it. And so she would give me the okay. And if I had her approval, I was good for everything, because I knew there would be some who disagreed, and there would be some who would really, really, really be angry. And I didn't mind that. Again, was able to endure that because I was able to endure 6 older brothers.
Yeah, I get that.
You get that, right?
I watch the boys endure each other. So you continue to grow, develop, and all of a sudden, BeBe and CeCe happen.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yes, and it was not in the plans. So you had my brothers who were the Winans. Before they were the Winans, their group was called the Testimonial Singers, right? And Michael was not in that group. There was a young man named Howard Smith. Howard Smith left the group And then he went to California. And that's how my brothers met Andre, because Howard told Andre about these brothers in Detroit. And so that's how that happens. But before that happened, we had a group, me, CeCe, Daniel, and Michael. And we were called the Winans Part 2. This is before they became the Winans. And so it was CeCe, it was the Christian version of Gladys Knight and the Pips. And so, and then we get a call as time would go on from another friend named Howard McQuarrie, who was an incredible keyboard player and a musician as well in Los Angeles. And he moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. He actually told my brother Marvin, I'm moving to Charlotte with these people named Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker, and we're looking for singers. And my brother Marvin said, oh, Daddy would never let that happen. Because at this point in time, CeCe's 15 and I'm 17. So we get a call, and Howard asked if we could come and audition for the PTL singers. And my mom, convinced my father to allow us to go down and audition. So my mom took us there to Charlotte, North Carolina from Detroit on a Greyhound bus. Looked like we stopped at everybody's house on the way down the Greyhound. And so we go down there, we audition, come back, and after a couple of weeks, we get a call. CeCe, they said, we want CeCe, but we don't want BeBe. And so my father said, well, ain't no way that's happening. My daughter ain't going nowhere. And he was like, nobody could change his mind. One night I went and I said, Dad, I really felt that was where we were supposed to be, both of us. So I asked him, I said, Dad, if you let her go, I'll go down with her and I'll get a job at the grocery store. And that's what I did. I went, and my father said yes. When he said yes, my brother Marvin, especially Marvin and Ronald, they were so angry. As if, and my father's like, is this y'all kids? Or is this my kids? They were so angry, and we were baffled because my father said yes, that we could move to Charlotte and I would take care of CeCe. So I went down, got a job at the grocery store, and one Sunday, Howard said, BeBe, I want you to sing with the choir. CeCe's going to lead the song. And
now, wait, what was Howard's role at PTL?
Howard was the musical director.
Okay.
He was the musical director. And so CeCe's going to lead, and then when she leads the second verse, I want you to ad-lib. Whispers of Love, that was my ad-lib on Blessed Assurance. And after the song was finished, Jim Bakker came over to where we were, and he said, I remember like it was yesterday, who was that was doing those whispers? I lifted my hand. He said, that was wonderful. You're going to be in the PTL Singers. And that's when I left my job at the grocery store and became a PTL singer. Time went on. He being Jim Bakker, came to the rehearsal and said, I just heard this song on the radio from the movie Officer and the Gentleman. And you guys change a couple of words to it and it'll be great. And he looked over and said, and BeBe, I want you and CeCe to do it as a duet. That's how we became a duet.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I've known y'all for more than 25 years. I never heard this part of the story.
He was the reason we became a duet. And so as that song, Lord Lift Us Up, became so popular, even outside of PTL, one day, and then we started going out, being asked to come out and, sing, do concerts. And it was like, CeCe, we don't have. So I started snatching songs from Amy Grant, and just, you sing this part, you sing that part, this and that. And then it hit us, and I said, CeCe, do you feel what I feel? She said, yes. So we had to go back to Detroit and tell the members of our group that we're no longer a group. and it's just going to be BeBe and CeCe as a duet. And my father was angry. He said, "Did you know, no, family got to stick together. You know, family." And I said, "Daddy, we are. We're just two members of the family. We're going to stick together." Very, very difficult, but we knew that this was in God's plan.
You know, it's amazing how God orchestrates these things providentially. We don't even realize it. You and I were talking, you know, before we started the podcast about God's hand moving us around. And then we're discovering after the fact that was him all along. Let's talk a little bit about the PTL experience. I drove up to Boston, Massachusetts, to see a play.
Yes.
And you were excited when you called me. It's going to be in Boston, Pastor. You got to get up there. Got to see this. Got to come. And I drove up. We connected. And I thought it was amazing. I really thought it was an honest expression of the history, the times, the realities that existed in America, even within the world of Christianity. And I said, "Man, this is something else." And it was Broadway quality, you know. And there were elements that were controversial.
Yeah.
And you know, people would be upset with that. Some folks did get upset with that. But let's talk about that. I mean, what was the experience at PTL? And I know, look, I know you as a person. You have gratitude for how it launched you and BeBe, your singing career, her singing career, the two of you. So there's no doubt in my mind. But having a conversation about the hard realities of the context, and then taking it and putting it into a production.
Yes. And
let's talk about those realities first.
The reality was when my mom came back down and was leaving me and CeCe in Charlotte, she asked Jim and Tammy, and she asked Howard and his wife, Shay, to take care of us. And so that is what Jim and Tammy did. They really took care of me and CeCe. Didn't know till afterwards when writing the musical how much they covered us. And so one of the things that I learned was racism in the church. Oh my, I didn't know that existed until.
Well, you're coming from Detroit.
I'm coming from Detroit.
Down to
I'm
Carolina.
Exactly, everything. But I was excited because, again, I love people. So it was like, I was excited. Oh, I'm going down to meet some white people.
Yeah.
And so you could feel that. I think people can feel when love is real, when you're meeting them. So there was a love that Jim and Tammy had for me and CeCe that others were jealous of and hated us more because of that. So, but we never took advantage of the love that Jim and Tammy had, but we respected everything that was, set up. You have a problem, you go here, you don't go straight to Jim, So we did that. But what God used in the gift that he gave us, it even brought us closer to Jim and Tammy. Again, when we sung Lord Lift Us Up 250 million times. And every time God would show up. And so that meant something to them in the spirit world, but in the natural world too, because people were coming more to spend.
It was a draw.
It was a draw
to PTL Club. Yeah.
Yeah. So we knew, okay, we're a draw. But there was moments when I would bump into complete hatred. So, for instance, there was a TV guy, his name was Rick. He passed away a couple of years now. But he was the camera guy. And so between the studio and cameras, you're speaking, you're talking all the time. And so one day, he was leaving, and he was coming to everybody saying, I'm leaving, this and that. When he got to me, he started bawling, crying, hysterical, and just said, thank you. And I thought he's saying thank you because I know at one point one of his children had a hospital, something with his blood. And so I, gave and prayed for him and this and that. And then he looked at me and said, I hated you. I said, you hate? Because my family, we speak with our hands too, how you doing, touch,
Yeah.
And he said, every time you would speak or touch me, I would cringe. And I'm like, okay, well, now you got my underbite. What are you talking about? He said, I was raised in a Christian home where my parents taught us to hate Black people and that Black people were evil. So now I'm really confused because you just said a Christian home.
Yeah. Oxymoron.
Yeah.
Paradox.
I was raised in a Christian home. They didn't teach us that. And then he said something that would never, ever leave me. He said, but because of the love you showed me, you broke the chains of hatred. And I want to thank you. Oh, Pastor, I remember right then saying, love is more powerful than hatred.
Yeah.
And so whenever I bumped into, from that day on, or when we left, whenever I bumped into hatred, I knew, love is greater than this. So I know how to handle you. And so we knew when we were there that we were learning life lessons. We saw the jealousy. We saw the jealousy of the guest that was coming to be on the Jim Bakker show that wanted to be Jim Bakker.
You're talking about some of these preachers.
Oh, yes.
You're talking about some of these preachers. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
So it was a learning ground. But I also had to learn who God was, because what I learned in Detroit became a crutch for me after I left Detroit. And I remember God saying, you got to know me for you, right? And so therefore, because the confusion is God does not use people who wear makeup and wear earrings.
Oh, yeah.
You don't belong to Jesus if you're
Pentecostal.
Huh?
Yeah. Pentecostal.
Come on.
That's
and
right.
now I'm sitting right next to Tammy Faye.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm sure that took a couple hours before showtime.
It took some minutes. And so, women didn't wear pants. And Tammy had a pantsuit and everybody else had a pants. So it was confusing. And it took time for me. Look, PTL was the first time I went to a movie. I went to a movie. That was because going to movies were sin.
Right.
Was a sin.
Seat of the scornful.
Yes.
What's the other line? The way of sinners. Yeah, I remember. I had a short stint there.
And so I went to see E.T. That was my first movie. And I had to go twice because the first time I went, I couldn't hear nothing because I just could hear Jesus is going to kill me. I could hear my father's voice saying, you. And so I came back home because me and CeCe were living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And she saw my face and she said, what happened? I said, I don't know what. She said, did you kill somebody? No, I went to a movie. A movie. But this is the things that happen at PTL. The stretching of God is bigger than man-made laws. The understanding that, I like apple pie, but some people like pumpkin pie. I didn't know pumpkin pie existed until I got there. So the food, everything was a whole different change for me and my sister. At the same time, going back home to visit and being in church for 3
Yeah,
hours.
for 3 hours.
It was like, okay, y'all, come on, God done left you.
and knowing who's going to shout when. And so PTL opened you to a whole new world of Christianity that you did not know existed
At all. Yes.
and it scared you out of your Pentecostal
Yeah.
self.
It shook the very
Now
foundation.
you guys were Kojic, right? Were you
Yes.
Church of God in
Yes.
Christ?
Church of God in
Right,
Christ.
Pentecostal, and the Black church experience
Mhm.
really fully there. It launched your career, opened you to a new world, introduced you to individuals, and took you to another level of life. You felt the need to capture that story into a play
Mhm.
that I was talking about in the beginning of our conversation called Born for This.
Yes.
Of course, play is about you. You were
Yes.
born for this. But you were quite honest
Mhm.
in how you laid that out.
Mhm.
Was that a problem for anyone?
Yes. Is that a problem for anyone? What I've learned in following God, I've learned this. You're going to wrinkle some people's feathers
Yeah.
if you're saying yes to God. Now, that don't mean you're going to just do things in a wrong fashion. But I've learned, don't be afraid to explore and go through the open doors that God has for you. And you don't have to get other people's permission.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I learned from my father, from him being an only child, he did what he wanted to do and did not ask for permission, and understood that there would be some challenges, you
Right.
know.
Right.
I didn't plan to write a musical, right? That was not on my bucket list at all. It was a conversation that I was having with Roberta Flack about what songs she was going to sing at John Travolta's 50th birthday celebration, which I was over the music for. I'm having this conversation. You're looking at me in your eyes.
Yeah.
I do it. Yeah. So we're talking about her songs, and then all of a sudden she shifted and said, "BeBe, by the way, when you're gonna write that musical, baby, about you and your sister and your family's life, it's an American story. Get to it. It's a Broadway show. After the Broadway show, then it's going to be a television show." And I'm looking at the telephone like, did she not take her medication? What's going on? It was like confusing to me. And then she finished that and went right back into, I think I'll do the song. And Pastor, I remember hanging up the phone and I just looked at it and I said, that's crazy. I'm just going to ignore that. And 4 days later, I was in Montreal to sing, and I walked into the hotel. I have my laptop. I just opened up my laptop for some reason, and then it was like a faucet turned on. And I sat there and I wrote what would become the first draft of Born for This.
Wow.
It didn't end there. I decided, okay, this is what I got to do. Where can you learn about Broadway? New York.
Yeah. Well,
So I moved. I lived in an apartment here. I went to every musical that there was to learn because it's a different skill.
Right.
Sometimes we as God people, like a friend of mine says, we don't want miracles. We want magic. We want to say, okay, you want to do that? Bam, man. But you have to participate in a miracle. And so living here, learning what it is to write for a Broadway show and meeting sometimes the wrong people, which was upsetting but it led me to the right people. And so at the point where it started coming together with the actors, and I became very, very excited, not afraid at all because I was excited to see what God had done already with me saying yes to what he called me to do. So that story short, long story short, I remember going to meet with Jim Bakker. And I said, Jim, I want you to know that in the musical, my director, co-writer as well, took some liberty, and we put there that me and CeCe, there was threats on our lives and such and such. And Jim looked at me and said, "Oh, there were many threats." I said, "What?" Wow!
So you were there.
Oh my
Doing
God!
your little Pentecostal thing with your sister, and you didn't realize the degree of hatred that was race-based hatred that was active while you guys were there.
Active. So many threats to come and kill me and CeCe.
Wow.
I mean, it was amazing. Again, but he covered us.
Yeah.
He said, we didn't want y'all to hear any of that or what. So we covered you all. But BeBe, because there was a new thing that they were doing with having colored people on
black folks
on PTL, and so I was amazed of what I learned while sitting with him, telling him about the musical that we were.
Well, at least you paid him the respect by going to him, talking with him, regardless of his journey and all the things that he went through. You still honored that relationship.
He was like a father.
Yeah.
And really the things we disagreed with. And he promised me, he said, when you open, I'll be there.
Wow.
So we opened regional theater April 2016. And on my right side was Jim sitting there. And on my left side was my mom.
Wow.
Right. And so the funny part of that was there were times, for instance, there's a scene where me and Penny, she wasn't a PTL singer. She was his makeup artist, right? And so we kind of started dating, and that was a no-no because she's a tall blonde. And Tammy fired her.
You really, really crossed the line.
Crossed the line.
Crossed the Mason-Dixon there.
You what? and she got fired because of that, right? Wow. And so Jim leans in and says, I didn't know that. I said, Jim, that was 25, 30 years ago. It's so
too late. It's too late. It's too late.
But yeah, it was exciting. It was, I had determination and persistence to make sure I did it the way I knew to be respectful, but tell the truth.
And thanks for sharing. Really appreciate you opening around this. And of course, we're going to have you back on the show because you've got all of these awards and so much to talk about. But when I found out you're going to be on the program, I was excited about having this kind of a conversation because I still think that play is Broadway worthy.
Yes.
And we're going to pick up on getting that where it needs to be. Do you think things have changed within the Christian community here in America? Especially, we're still deeply divided, racially divided, polarized.
We are so divided. No, it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. I want to say it maybe some strides, but I would be disingenuous if I said yes. And the reason why I say that is I've had conversations with people who don't want to fellowship with other people.
Other people meaning black people.
Black folks, yeah. And I go to a white church in Nashville.
You've had conversations with them.
Oh, yeah.
But you're black, and they're having a conversation with you.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't want to go to church.
Some feel free to have certain conversations with, and they feel as if I'm different.
I cannot tell you how many times I've had that kind of a
Oh, I know.
conversation where folks tell me I'm different, and I wanted to be very different at that moment. But I must
It's
stay
the God
safe.
in me.
I think
Yeah.
there's a song.
Yes. But in when I'm challenged with that, again, I remember saying laughter. I remember laughing at a situation at PTL instead of getting angry.
Yeah.
And that would be my weapon when I was faced. You have a choice to either get angry at it or I'm going to laugh at it.
Yeah.
So when I'm faced with that today, I laugh, and in laughter, it gives me the ability to say what I need to say, but say it in love and say it in a different spirit other than being angry and chopping somebody's head off, right? But I know because of PTL, I know the way you hug me if you're racist.
Yeah. Let's move. We're running out of time. Let's talk about your new project.
Yes.
All right, because we didn't even get a chance to talk much about BeBe and CeCe.
We'll come back.
We're going. Yeah, you got to be
come
back.
back.
We'll have another
There's
opportunity.
a lot to talk about.
But let's talk about your latest project and what that is and how it's doing.
I have been writing, as you know, but others don't know. I've always been more passionate about writing than singing. Singing was just a way to transport my writing to the airways, right? And I've still been that way. So I haven't toured because it's like, no, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not interested in singing in the public, this and that. So for the last 15 years, I've been behind the scenes. Every now and then, somebody like you pull me in and I sing a song and retreat back to the corner. And so I've been writing these songs. This song I just released called Father in Heaven right now. It's one of those songs. It's one of those songs that, after you've written song, it's a BeBe and CeCe Heaven song. It's a BeBe and CeCe Lost Without You song. Right. It's one of those.
All those experiences, right?
Yeah. And so, but it's just me being at the point where I really want to tell God, thank you. I mean, you kept your promises. You've been faithful when I've been unfaithful. So it's the beginning of, I believe, a lot of songs that I've written in the last 10 years will speak to the hearts of what we're talking about, racism, and everything else that God is calling us to do in the times that we live in. So with that, I did a concert at the Apollo last year, I think it was last year. You got sick and you get whatever, and then from there I went to South Africa. It was in South Africa that something woke inside of me that I haven't felt in years, and that was, you got to go sing. Pastor, that was a hard.
That's like going to preach.
Oh my gosh!
Really, essentially, because singing is sending a message. It's telling a story. Yes. It's connecting, which is what preaching is as well. And it's your gift. We've had that conversation.
Yes.
That's another conversation.
Yes. So in saying yes, not only am I excited about that, but I did other things while, the pandemic was going on and various other things. And so I have a TV series that's just picked up for second season. Called Mind Your Business. And I'm the father of 2 kids who mind the business that we have, which is an event space. That was a very exciting and scary move, because I've always respected actors, and I was, singers want to be actors and actors want to be singers and all that. And so I'm finding myself in the middle of that, but very, very excited about that. And they're all happening at the same time. And I was like, Lord, what about when I was 26?
Why now?
Why now?
But think about it, BeBe, you are today an aggregate of all of the experiences, the knowledge, the wisdom, situations that have shaped and informed you.
Mhm.
So you are more valuable now than when you were 21, 25, 26.
Yes, understand more, but physically.
Wait, let me go Pentecostal church. I will pray your strength in the Lord.
But I tell you too, I tell you as well, as I tell everyone I bump into, especially my family, we have to take care of ourselves physically.
Yeah.
We really don't understand the wonderful things that we don't engage or have because we won't get out the bed. We won't walk. We won't.
And you know that's a big problem within the Black church, especially.
Yes.
Health.
Yes.
You know, we don't have all of these other vices, supposedly. We're following the holiness road. But we eat and we don't exercise. We don't take care of ourselves the way we should. And there are a lot of specific health issues,
Right.
like high blood pressure and sugar diabetes and all these things and heart problems that plague our community. But I know what you do in the gym, and
I get it done.
Yeah, you get it done.
And that has really helped in the situation now that I'm finding myself so busy in, that my health is so important. So if I got to be somewhere at 6, I'm up at 4 to get the health thing done. I really do feel as if the enemy sits there and says, "Oh, I ain't got to worry about you doing this. I'm gonna get you on that sandwich at late at night."
Korean soul.
Yes.
I mean, the list goes on. We've got to have you back. I hope we can get you back sooner than later, so we can talk about all of these things that you're involved with and you've been doing, your time with Oprah, and just you've had an amazing journey, and it's not over. I mean, this is a new season for you. And you're applying your gifts in a different way.
Well, I appreciate, because on the way, on that journey, I've met people like you who has helped in so many ways. But being able to sit down and talk practical and be honest and it coming from the heart, not worrying about what you say will be held against you, you know? And that's why I think I love God more now than I have before, because I can really come to him and just bare my soul to him. And so I appreciate what you've done and who you are to me. And we just need more people to take on that challenge.
We need safe spaces.
Yeah.
We need safe relationships where we can be vulnerable and transparent instead of judgment and beating you over the head. I've seen people transformed by a loving word. And sometimes just a loving presence becomes so powerful that a person's heart and all the hardness is melted away. I've seen that. BeBe, I'm proud of what you're doing. Love and appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Our relationship for years, and all your family who call me to tell on you.
I don't mind, because I know they're telling on me to you.
But thank you, and you know our prayers are with you.
Thank you, sir.
As you continue, and I'm serious about Born for This. I think that that is something that has to continue. Pick up where it left off.
Oh yeah, we are. And just a little note, it's looking right now. We're talking spring 2025.
That's what I want to hear.
Yes,
we'll
sir.
have that follow-up conversation. BeBe Winans. I know you enjoyed that conversation, and like me, you wanted to come back for more. So thank you, our listeners, for joining us today. If you like what you heard, you know the deal. Subscribe, like, share. We hope you'll join us for our next illuminating conversation right here on the A.R. Bernard Show. Of course, I'm your host, A.R. Bernard. Till next time, God bless.